They be like, ooh, ayy, finally got that deal, got a pen in my hand. Ooh, ayy, like how you tryna buy who the hell I am? You can keep your cash, I'm not that broke. I won't sign no contracts, I do me. Y'all are canceled, stealing people's dreams, how can you sleep? It's all rap hoes, throwing cash in Lambos. I'm independent till I'm dead, I quit the music industry.
Hey everybody, welcome to Phone Radio. And like always, want to thank Tom for letting me use his music on our intro. Tom's a good guy. But we have Rob from many different things, but Redline Science today. This is going to be a fun show. So go for the people that don't know you, go ahead and introduce yourself, Robyn.
Right on. My name is Robyn Markland. I've been in the reptile industry since 1993. Started as animal breeder, reptile breeder with Pro Exotics. Did that for about 20 years until we had an abrupt end. In 2009, we started Ship Your Reptiles. So we created that and got that side of the industry going. 2011, started the Reptile Report and got that underway, and that continues to roll along. 2012, 2013, started THG Heat, our heat tape company. Now we are the dominant heat tape sellers in the market, although that's had a recent evolution as well. And in late 2019, I started Redline Science to do products now. For the long-term goal for Redline Science and products is reptiles, aquatics, and horticulture products. So I want to play the parallels across all three industries. I see a lot of similarities and opportunity there, but because I'm a longtime reptile guy in reptile industry and hobby, our initial products are focused on the reptile side of things. But so it's been almost 30 years now, and I've done animals, service, information marketing, and now products. I guess I'm trying to work the whole 360 degrees and get every aspect of the industry. Next, I'll have to open a feeder company or something, I suppose.
Redline feeders. I like it.
There you go. That was always, I tell you what, though, that's always my least favorite part of breeding animals is working with the feeders. The rodents, they're an essential part of it, but good Lord, I don't like breeding mice and rats. It is no fun at all.
I'll leave that never breed them.
The rodent experts.
Yeah, I wouldn't breed mice and rats if you paid me to do it. I couldn't do it. I just get it from Rodent Pro or something and just take it out of the freezer.
Well, I'll tell you, my wife and I did it for a while.
When you have a big collection, you can do a lot of frozen stuff, but there's still a need for the live side of it. And so typically we ended up at least having some mice and rats breeding. But yes, not my favorite at all.
Yeah, it was. We were doing the rats for a while, but they always ended up getting into trouble. Like they figured out how to chew their hoses, even though you had them out. I don't know how they reached your hoses. We were always over there in the middle of the night. I would go over and check them, and there'd be some swimming. I was like, "This has got to end." It was way, way too much work.
It is. My understanding is it's really lucrative. There's folks that do it and they do fantastically well, but I think it's just a certain patience and personality maybe that makes you want to do that, and it doesn't match my particular personality. I probably couldn't be a roach breeder either, or a cricket breeder. Just not my forte, but that may be the only thing I've not done in the reptile world so far.
Roaches aren't bad. Crickets, crickets can get lost.
Yeah.
Yes.
We had no problem moving any of the rats. I mean, it was no problem getting, because people were always lined up to buy them. I mean, it was just like they were there. But I was like, to do this, you would have to hire somebody to be there almost 24 hours a day, because them things are into everything.
Yeah, they're so destructive. It drives you nuts. Like you said, their cages are always flooding, and valves are always getting stuck, and they're jamming food in the water valves to make it flood, and it's insanity. And then, of course, there's the rodent smell, which is lovely.
I know someone that bred it, and if you walked in his facility, it would stick to your clothing, the smell.
Yeah.
There's
you might
no
as well.
way.
Yeah. You might as well go to a cigarette factory or something.
Yep.
It's
I was done with
quite
that.
smelly. Yep. Yep.
No, I've never been a breeder. Don't breed rats, Tanisha. No, rats, no.
No. They're way too much.
But mice
Way
smell.
too much.
Mice smell more. If you
Well,
get
mice, yeah, a male mouse is constantly putting out a scent constantly. So
I think mice are meaner too.
oh yeah,
yeah,
They're much more bitey than the rats are.
yes.
I'll stick to my geckos.
There you go.
So
Yeah, I
you
have
got
no problem with the like the geckos and stuff, but when it comes to the rats,
they're meaner. I like that.
yeah.
So what kind of questions you got, Andrew? I know you got questions. I know
Well, I
you
was
got
just
them written
wondering.
down.
Well, I don't have them written down. I try to remember most of the stuff on top of my head. I do my best, but I would like to know the new products you got out. I saw that on the Dave Kaufman's. This, like, could you explain a little bit about these? Where people can go find them too?
Yeah, we've got a few different product lines. Part of my approach with Redline Science is we're not doing retail sales. So I'm using a distribution network and dealer network, and I'm selling to the Pangeas and the Reptile Basics, the Triple L's. We just brought on Reptile as a distributor to use their network. So those folks are the ones that you can actually buy the products from. I'm also pushing into the show circuit guys that, are doing 30 or 40 shows a year, getting products on their tables. But the main product lines right now, we've got some scraping products, our blade scrapers and our detail scrapers for cleaning cages and surfaces. Then we got a whole line of stainless steel stuff we're working with that I'm very excited about, hemostats and tweezers, things like that. And then also egg incubation trays, which is actually something I brought over from our THG company. And that's an incubation tray inside of a deli cup that would then go in your incubator. Very easy to do with geckos and stuff like that. Small species snakes as well. But you're using the suspended off the substrate method of incubation for those. So those are our initial products that we've rolled out with. And then I briefly mentioned earlier with our heat tape company, THG, I'm actually bringing the heat tape under the Redline banner as well. So we're going to rebrand heat tape as Redline Science heat tape. And, the heat tape is super popular for rack setups and cage setups, under tank heating type of a setup or with tubs and things like that. Also good for incubation if you're doing like a home incubator setup. A lot of people prefer to use heat tape over bulbs and stuff. And so heat tape like 3-inch, 4-inch, 6-inch, 12-inch, and even a 21-inch size. So I'm bringing that under the Redline brand as well. So I'm excited about that. The long-term goal of Redline Science, again, is reptiles, aquatics, and horticulture. And so I'd like to get into the heating and the lighting and tools in all three of those different industries. Like I said, I see a lot of parallels between the three. There's a big hobby base in each of those industries: reptiles, aquatics, horticulture. You got the aquatics folks that are cultivating corals and fish. Much like the reptile folks, they're working at home, they're working in their basement or garage or spare bedroom, essentially breeding aquatics and then going online and selling them. But they use a lot of the similar heating products, lighting products, certainly the stainless tools and the scrapers and things like that they can make use of as well. And then the same thing in horticulture. And horticulture, I'm actually looking to focus on the cannabis world because, again, the parallels there. You have your boutique cannabis breeders. They're, growing plants, and they're doing it at home, in the bedroom, in the basement, small outbuilding. Very similar model to a gecko breeder, a ball python breeder. They're producing product, and then they're selling it. And again, they use heating, they use lighting, they use the tools. So I'd like to play the parallels between all three of those and get further and further reach into these other industries. I think that'd be really interesting.
You know, I never looked at the horticultural side of things being similar. I've always looked at aquatics and reptiles similar, but I never thought of that whole aspect of it. But yeah, I guess it is very similar.
Yeah, and if not just weed folks, but I mean, you can get into a whole other universe. Like on Instagram, you start liking a couple different tomato growers or tropical plant folks, and you get down into this rabbit hole of literally thousands of other tropical plant guys or tomato folks or different vegetable guys. And again, it's very, very similar to what we do in that they're doing like boutique, not breeding, but propagating at home. And then they have this network and family of other hobbyists doing the same thing. And they sell and trade amongst each other. I was, once I got into that world a little bit. Yeah, I can get lost for hours just following all the different pages, the orchid breeders and the succulent breeders. And, of course, there's a gigantic weed presence on Instagram as well. So it's pretty fascinating, when you start looking at the parallels. We're all just hobbyists, essentially, pursuing our passions. It's just that, some of us are gecko folks and some are snake folks and some are rodent folks and some are orchid folks.
I like how you're going to every aspect of it and you're thinking outside the box. I like that.
Yeah, I find that's always been my favorite part of the business is the industry side and the business side of our world. And it's pretty fascinating because, starting in the early 90s, that was when the industry was just getting going, really. People were just figuring out like, oh shit, you can breed geckos for a living. Like you can do this as a job. And, back in those days, we were doing mailing out price lists. There was no internet. So it was a little bit more difficult, but that's where it, was getting started. And you didn't really know that this was going to be such a big industry. So I've really enjoyed watching the industry mature over the decades with the advent of the internet. And then when Facebook came along, that exploded everything again because it became so much easier to reach your customer. And then earlier before the show we were talking about Brian Potter and the NARBC shows, and those early shows were much more amateurish, and they were just kind of winging it. Brian and Bob Ashley were figuring it out as well, and now we have a real industry show with hundreds upon hundreds of vendors of all different types, and you get 10,000 people in the door, and some folks are making $100,000 in a weekend. It's a big industry now, and relatively, it's not aerospace or entertainment. But we have a real significant industry, and I've really enjoyed watching the evolution of that over the past 30 years.
Yeah, I would say NARBC really took off. Like, really took off.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's really amazing.
And now that you see that it's a really big industry and it's people are making money at it and all, do you think we'll be able to protect the industry from the people that want to end it, that are trying their hardest to end?
That's I'm hopeful. Yes, I'm optimistic about that. But it's always going to be a battle. I think it's always going to be a challenge. I've been a supporter of USARK since the beginning. I think it's important that we have a good, strong voice out there. I saw Phil just the other day at the recent Tinley show, and back to NARBC. They had a Saturday auction, which they do every show to raise money for USARK, and they raised $140,000, I think, for the auction.
Wow.
Which was was the record, which was just ridiculous amount of money. And every penny of that's going to go towards kind of fighting a constant roll of laws and legislation that is very much anti-reptile. And the reality is, I think, even 50 years from now, there's always going to be a snake phobia. If the industry was just geckos, we'd probably be okay, because geckos are cute and adorable and non-threatening. But the whole snake thing, it's like spiders, and snakes they're always going to cause a phobia, and people are always going to have an irrational dipshit reaction to that makes no logical sense.
Oh, I agree with you 100%.
Thinking that a milk snake is going to be the same thing as a cobra,
Yeah.
I think we'll always have to fight to protect our industry. But I think we're getting some infrastructure in place that can help do that. I think Phil in US Art does a really solid job. It's a big job to do for sure.
Yeah, he helped me. I fought this town that I live in for 2 years straight, and he helped me so much, and it worked. So you just have to prove to people that they're not these big evil demon type creatures, So
there's going to be a new thing every single time.
That kind of when I'm looking at social media evolve. Unfortunately, I see that there's a whole culture there on Instagram or TikTok or whatever the latest knick-knack social media platform is for the kids. But there's a whole culture of essentially phobia videos.
Mm-hmm.
Like, scare people with your snake stuff or gory live feeding kind of stuff. And unfortunately, that stuff exists, and that really works against us because, Andrew, that's what those types of folks are seeing, and that's what they're envisioning. And so then they think that a ball python or a corn snake is going to be that same dangerous, gory threat to them, when obviously that's not the case. So I really wish that type of content didn't exist, but I'm not in charge of that shit, so nothing I can do about it. But
I do appreciate.
We can only have to work against it.
I never see you promote it on TRR. I never see you promote that stuff.
We've had our moments over the years.
Because
at
I
the
like
Reptile
how
Report,
you do PR.
At the Reptile Report, we try and toe a tight line. So as much as I'm interested in seeing somebody handle, say, King Cobra.
Yeah.
Like Tom Crutchfield can freehand his King Cobras.
Yep.
And I have 1,000% confidence in Tommy that he's safe and responsible with how he interacts with his animals. I have no question about that. I visited him a number of times. Just a fascinating dude that's been around twice as long as I have. But he can handle his King Cobra. But I can't share that content at the Reptile Report because there's too many casual fans of animals that see it and they don't understand the context of that, who Tom is, his literal 50 years of experience with them. And to them, that's the same as just Johnny on the block handling a Gaboon Viper. And so we
Tom
don't do any free handling stuff.
Yeah, Tom has forgotten more than we know.
Yes. Super fascinating dude. So no free handling stuff. And then we don't do any feeding videos or picture, feeding pictures. Yeah. And I think the exploitive feeding type content is unnecessary. But, sometimes we would post animals eating in a breeding context, just feeding a ball python in a tub or something. And because I thought there was a lot of value in not just pretty animals, but like, this is what our hobby does. This is how breeding works. This is what racks look like. This is what a breeding cage looks like. But that also gets a lot of negative reaction. And so it's easier just to have no feeding content at the Reptile Report than it is to try and explain to 500 pissed off moms why there's a snake eating a rat, And because you get, I'm going to report you to the ASPCA, I'm going to report you to PETA. I'm going to report you to Facebook and get your page taken down. You guys are jerks and assholes and the worst thing.
Yep.
And it's like, okay, we'll just no more feeding videos, pictures of any sort. So
Well,
we do have to try and appease a wide audience with the Reptile Report, not just the the herper hobbyist audience. We're also posting and sharing content with again casual people that are interested in reptiles and think that the snakes, wow, that snake is really pretty, really gorgeous, or I didn't know that the lizard could look like this, or look at the colors on the chameleon. This is awesome. I'm much more in favor of just spreading that kind of goodwill, and I don't need to get into the controversial or emotional side of pictures and videos with that stuff.
Yep.
Well, here's the thing with pictures. Even with feeding pictures and feeding videos and stuff, a person that wants to create ill intent towards their hobby will pick out the worst part of something and just dramatize it and work it towards their favor. That's why I'm against showing videos like that and pictures like that too, because we all know what they do. So it's better to show like you guys do, all the look at this one and look at that one, and
social media, the
just stay on positive content.
I agree,
really is. It really is. It allows you to reach so many people, but you don't necessarily have control about who those people are going to be.
Yep,
that's it. Yeah. So where do you see the future in the hobby? Like, where do you see it in like 10 years from now? Do you see it like bigger than it is now, or?
Yes, I think it keeps growing. I was just having this conversation the other day about Facebook and the evolution of Facebook. When Facebook kind of hit in 2008, 2009, the hobby really exploded because you could access your buying audience so easily, more so than just a website. And so that really exploded things. But, I have perspective and appreciation that Facebook is now for old folks like me. It's not the young person's platform.
No.
I'm 51 now, so I'm officially in the old category, I think. But, I have nieces and nephews that are 20 years old, and they're not on Facebook. And so, in fact, they're really not on Instagram either, because that's now matured and for older folks. So, to try and predict where it's going to be in 10 years, that's really challenging, because I don't know, will Facebook still be around? That was the conversation I had. Will Facebook still be around in 10 years, or will something come and take its place? I mean, it certainly seems like a very entrenched gorilla at this point that's not going anywhere. But, things... I thought KingSnake.com was going to be around forever, and I was incorrect. That was not going to remain the main influence in our marketplace like it was in the 90s and 2000s. So
the rumor has
we'll
it.
See
I don't
what
know
happens, but I think
Jeff might be updating it. Is Jeff doing something with it that we don't know? Do you know anything?
I would hope so. That would be no. I haven't. I haven't heard from Jeff in years.
Me neither. So I just heard in the grapevine that he's going to modernize it, and I'm like,
I mean, I think there's opportunity for that. Morph Market has created a really strong and vibrant marketplace.
Yes.
That has the timing was great. They kind of came into their own as Facebook was banning sales of animals. Yep. And so, they filled this need immediately, and they've grown really well. And I think they've got a really great team. I'm a big fan of John Lehman. I think he does a really good job. He's very visionary in that side of things. So I think, that kind of thing will continue to grow. But that's, there's an opportunity for somebody else to be there, I suppose. It's a ridiculous amount of work. And it's also a ridiculous need for luck and timing. There was a good 15 years where I saw, 3 or 4 times a year, some new marketplace would come out, and it would say, hey, your number one stop for all things reptiles. And it would last 2 weeks, and there'd be 13 people on it, and then it would die a painful death. And nobody could ever get traction with a new marketplace or new, the forums are all dead now. That used to be the mainstay of our industry. But like I said, Morph Market was able to do it. Timing was good. Execution was excellent. And so theoretically, yeah, somebody else could do it. Is Jeff the guy to do it? I'm not sure. I'd be interested to see what he had in mind. I go back a long time with Jeff Behringer at King Snake. Like I said, when we were doing price lists, we were doing mailing lists for our animals. You would type up a literal list to say, I have these common boas for sale at $85. I've got these leopard geckos for sale. There weren't any kind of morphs or mutations at that time. Leopard geckos for sale for, $15 or $30, whatever it was. And then you'd have 2 pages of animals. And then this thing called the internet came along. And I got a call from Jeff, and he said, hey, I bought proexotics.com for you in case you guys want to do a website. And I said, oh, okay, cool. Thank you. And I didn't know what to do with that. I was like, all right, whatever. Thanks, man. On my typewriter making a price list. And then, it became obvious that, we have to make a website and, move things in that direction. But yeah, I mean, he literally bought up my domain so that nobody else could get it, because we were so clueless about things. You would never think to buy proexotics.com or whatever your business name.com is. So I'm fortunate that he did that for me. I've never forgot it, and I still think it's hilarious that we were so ignorant back then that we didn't know what was coming. But
he was on.
I go back
he was
a long. Yeah, he was. Well, I mean, Jeff's a freaking nerd. He's a nerd from way back. So he was a computer genius back in the day. So he was in that world. Like I said, whereas I was cleaning up snake poop and typing out a price list and literally putting stamps on a folded piece of paper to mail out. So
I remember
and
getting
to this day,
envelopes with the stamps on it.
Yep. And to this day, I'm still not a super tech savvy guy. I can work my way around things, but when we build a new website with whether it's Ship Your Reptiles or Redline Science or anything else, I literally sketch it out like on paper. This is what I want it to look like.
Old
This
school.
is where the logo goes. If you press this button over here, it's going to take you to that page over there. And then I give that to my tech guy and say, can you make this work? Do you understand what I'm trying to say here? Yeah, I don't do any graphics or design. Yes. Yeah. And he says, hey, yeah, no problem. I got it. And I've worked with the same tech guy for years. So, he was very familiar with my rudimentary sketches. Yes.
It works.
Yeah,
That's all that
absolutely.
matters.
Same thing when we did Reptiles Magazine. When we did ads, I would literally just draw it out. And I'm not a good artist either. So it would be very block printy and scribbly. And I would just draw it out and say, can you make this a reality for us, please?
That's something I'm really upset about social media killing is Reptile Magazine. I used to love Reptile Magazine, getting it monthly.
Yep.
And now
it was exciting.
And people don't understand getting that magazine and then seeing people that you looked up to writing articles and doing, now everything's
First thing I
online.
always do is to go to the back of the magazine and look up all the dealers and get all their phone numbers. And I need a price list.
Yep. Well, again, that was, before the internet or early days of the internet. And so, number one, you didn't have an opportunity to know those folks. And so, like you said, you would go to the back for the folks that are literally 2 generations past this already, and they're not familiar at all. In the back of the magazine was a whole classified section, and that's where the action was. And you would take out these long classified ads listing all the species you were doing, and you would say, call or mail us for a price list. And you would go and you would browse Nerd's classified ad, or you'd browse Ralph Davis's ad. Like, these were the guys that, in ball python world that were just hot at the time. And that's how we tried to understand what was out in the market, what was available. And then the internet came along and made that all, right at the tip of your finger. Yeah. And eventually,
there was no
the magazine world as a whole kind of died off.
Yep.
But
there was no buying something and getting it the next day. There was no doing that.
No.
Unless you were Bob Clark and you were able to afford a whole centerfold section of the magazine and have to.
That was very exciting and inspirational as well. Again, early guys like Bob, he had a number of articles about him and these just amazing reticulated pythons that he was doing and the different morphs. And that was always amazing to see. We opened for Pro Exotics. We opened a retail store in 1998, I believe. And because we wanted to try it, I wasn't, that wasn't our initial goal, but we wanted to try a retail store. And so I did a 2-page ad spread in Reptiles magazine, where we did a full page ad across 2 pages. And I mean, I thought at this point we've made it. This is it. We have arrived in giving Reptiles magazine what was probably $5,000 to run this ad. It wasn't the best expenditure of funds, but it was. You wanted to be like Bob Clark and Ralph and these other guys that were there before you, and have a presence.
That's a name I haven't heard in a while.
Ralph Davis. I think he's a fisherman now, but he was. If
you
guys remember, early internet time, Ralph had a thing where you could get a bonus if you got his logo tattooed on your body.
Yes, 100%.
The coiled up snake with the
king hat
crown on it. That was Ralph Davis's logo.
Yeah.
Yeah, and people were tattooing it on their arms, on their chest, and on their back. And I don't remember what it was. You got 10% off or 20% off for life or something. But I mean, Ralph had a cult going, if you remember. That was a wild time.
I started YouTube at the same time Ralph did, and Ralph's YouTube blew up. I mean, he had people just following him just to follow him. Ralph was a machine.
Yeah.
Now he puts video out of catching bass.
Yeah, that's right. I did look him up, and I saw he was. Yeah, hey, that's cool, man. Live your best life. Yep. That's fine. Yeah. But back then he was one of the very first ones to really push the personality side of the business and develop a personality, not just a company that you're buying from, but like you said, he had this huge following, and people thought they knew Ralph. Like they thought, oh, I've got a connection to Ralph. In fact, I'm going to put Ralph's name on my body in a tattoo form, which still exists today, I'm sure. Yeah, that was a little nutty. That might have been when they jumped the shark, but good for him. That was very innovative at the time. I remember Kevin at Nerd. He was in there at that same time doing crazy, ball python stuff and retic stuff. And I thought he was escaped from an insane asylum. Kevin's, and the crazy thing is he's still here today. He's still very much a part of the business, in the industry today. And he's still that same crazy, insane dude. I don't know that anybody has the same amount of just energy that Kevin has. But yeah, you used to see him at shows with his long hair and, looking like he was a part of Slayer or something. And, he had his own personality, and he got his own cult going too. And, like I said, all power to him. He's still going hard today and doing some amazing animals still today, which is incredibly difficult to be that consistent and that relevant over literal long time, 30 years.
Oh,
I always say that if you can be in the reptile world for 5 years, you've done something. That's significant. That's 100%. A while. if you can be there for 10 years, that is really, really something. It's not an easy business, and it's, if you're doing it from a business standpoint. And so to do it for 10 years is really, you're starting to get into rare territory. But to be there for 20 years or 30 years, there's just not a ton of folks that have done that. And then, there's the Bob Applegates and Dave Barkers that are, 40 and 50 years.
The foundations.
Yes, their literal whole lives have been in the reptile world. And, Mark Bell is one, be the first guy that started, figuring out I can throw a bunch of animals in a van and drive them around to stores and wholesale them out. And like he created a whole business. Yeah.
And Mark and Kim Bell played a huge part in because they people don't know, they lived in Michigan.
Right. Yeah. They started up in Michigan.
And when I vended the Columbus show, there's Mark and Kim Bell. They're the big boys. And they treated me like, oh, yeah, come on, play with anything you want. That's just who Mark was. Yeah. And they played a huge part in my life.
Yeah. And I mean, they're essentially iconic in our industry. And now they run a gigantic business. I don't know what their sales are. I mean, they sell to the PetSmart, Petco type big box stuff. But I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they're approaching $20 million a year. They're selling a shit ton of animals and just a gigantic operation. And it's very interesting again to watch the evolution of that from, selling animals out of a van to local pet stores to shipping 3,000 boxes a week to stores across the country. That's incredible. Yeah.
He did what everyone dreams.
Yes. And Mark is still the same fucking chilled out Florida dude now. I mean, he looks like he just came in from surfing and he's got his sandals and his shorts and he's just kind of shuffling around being super chill. I mean, who's got a better life than that guy?
Last time I seen him at a show was Tinley, maybe 2010. When I was not Tinley, I'm sorry, it was Daytona.
Okay.
And he was like, "Do you want to play with anything?" And I'm like, "Not really." And the year before that, he bought a lot of Rich Zukowski's corn snakes. And Rich got out of it. And I'm sitting there looking at him. He comes up and goes, "I'm buying everything, Gary." I just looked at him like, "Come on, dude, really?" So he bought a lot of Rich's stuff that year.
Big boys make big moves.
Oh, he's
at Schaumburg. The NARBC Schaumburg show back in the summer. I saw him, and I mean, he was just cruising around. Him and Kim, checking booths out, checking animals out, super low key. And you look at him, you're like, that might be the most successful dude in here. That's amazing.
Isn't it sad that these newcomers would never recognize Mark and Kim Bell, but we would. We were walking through, we noticed, recognize them, mm-hmm. Or even Nerd, even Kevin. How many people could pick Kevin out of these newcomers? Pick Kevin out in the crowd. Find me Kevin and Nerd.
Yes, right, but that's true. But let me flip it around on you. Can you pick out the newcomers?
I can pick out a lot of them because I talk to them. Yeah, but I'm on social media a lot. Yeah.
Yes, so this is a new thing that I've been working with and dealing with is how to bridge this gap between old guard and new guard folks. Because when I went to Tinley just this recent show, I don't know why, just this one particular show, maybe it's because we haven't had a show in 2 years of that significance, but I had an epiphany of sorts, and I was looking around and I thought, shit, I don't know all these people anymore. I used to know everybody in the industry, all the vendors. I used to know everybody there. At least 40% are new folks, new blood folks, and I don't know them. And I'd like to. I want to reconnect and kind of bridge that gap so that I can stay in touch with what those new blood folks are doing. Who are the up and coming snake breeders? Who are the up and coming gecko breeders, chameleon breeders? I think that's really important, and that's going to be really important for us moving forward is to make sure that we can keep the connection between the different generations going.
I see some rebranding going on with some of these older folks that have been around for a long time too. I mean, look at Justin
Yep.
Kabalka changed his whole company's name.
Super smart. I loved that. But I love that guy. I mean, he's awesome, and he's
Yep.
I mean, he's no, not to make that comparison. He's the Ralph Davis of today. Like he's the vanguard of ball python guys. He's doing it.
I would agree with that. His
branding is good. His personality is fantastic. Nicest guy in the world. Hardworking dude. And you guys probably remember. I mean, he was a freaking teenager when he started.
Yep.
He was just a kid that was coming to shows.
It's hard for me to get that out of my mind.
Now
From
he's
where
a
he started
fucking
to where he is now.
businessman.
He's come up. People want a blueprint.
I couldn't be a bigger fan.
Justin just knows what he's doing. He did it the right way.
Yeah.
Yeah. I couldn't be a bigger fan. I love that guy. I love his company. And then to be able to step back and say, again, from business point, which is really fascinating to me, to be able to step back and say, if I'm Justin Kabalka Reptiles, this is where I can get to. But if I'm Canova Reptiles, not tied to my name, but a more professional name, then this is where I can get to. Much higher and much more potential, much longer term growth. I think that's brilliant, and no time like the present to make that change. The new branding looks great. I like the name. I think he's going to be a great leader at pushing that forward. And I've mentioned this to any number of folks, including Josh at Josh's Frogs. Josh's Frogs was just a kid, just a young guy starting a frog company. And now he's got a friggin' empire company that's gigantic. And he's got all kinds of products that have nothing to do with frogs anymore. But he's Josh's Frogs. He needs to take that same step that Justin did and become something new brand-wise. Because Josh's Frogs, I think, is going to be too limiting for him. I mean,
yeah, I agree with that.
Here's crazy thing about Josh. Before COVID, I saw him at the Tinley show before COVID. I guess that was late 2019. And he had just broken, I think, 50 employees. He had 50 staff. When I saw him at Schaumburg, this year, he was over 130 staff.
Whew.
That's how much he's grown.
Wow.
During the COVID time. And, as many people know, COVID has been a difficult time culturally and health-wise, and it's been devastating for some economies, restaurants and hotels and stuff. But it's been absolutely bonkers business in the reptile world.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, sales are off the charts. Live animals, merchandise, products, feeders, everything is just blown up ridiculously. And Josh has 100% ridden that wave. And so, he's over 130 staff, and he's still growing. And another guy, I love Josh. He's a really great mind. He's developed a really great empire of his business. But I mean, he's got a whole plant section. He sells plants to people that don't have any idea about his frog stuff. And so he might have to look at Justin's model and say, it's time to rebrand to something more general that can allow me to grow to that next level. So Justin is now Canova. So maybe Josh will be Josh Hova or something. I don't know, but he should find something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another one. Josh's Frogs is another one I remember starting small, and now look at him. He's a huge.
Monster,
absolutely huge.
Monster. And another guy, I don't know how you wouldn't support him. Super nice guy, super smart, super driven. I don't know how you wouldn't be a fan of him and Justin, Matt at Pangea. Just some really good guys that are busting their ass to be successful and have these big dreams. I love it. I love to see the folks working hard and seeing the success. There's a place for them in our industry. Obviously, there's a place for those really large companies, just as there's a place and remains a place for the boutique breeder that's going to be producing 50 animals a year or 500 animals a year. There's a place for all of those folks in our world, which makes it just awesome. You can be a big wholesaler. You can be a super specialist focused on one species or one thing, or you can be a boutique breeder that just produces world-class animals. There's lots of opportunity in all different facets of our business right now.
Yeah, like HG Rackness said here, BioDude, another one starting off working.
I love
Busting
BioDude
his
as well.
chops.
Yeah, he's had tremendous growth. I mean, Josh at BioDude is going through growing pains right now as well. He kept getting a bigger and bigger facility and then immediately outgrowing it, and so now he's looking for yet a larger building. COVID has definitely created issues with staffing. To be able to find enough staff to do all the jobs that he needs is challenging. Josh, the BioDude, just had a baby, which certainly complicates his world. Draws attention and focus there. But Josh just came out to the Tinley show. I've been trying to get him to come to shows for a couple of years now because I know what he wants to do. Growth wise, I know how hard he works and he wants to be successful. And I said, well, if you want to be a player in this industry, you've got to be at these shows. This is where everybody's at. This is where the people that you need to meet are at. This is where people are going to come to meet you. And so you've got to be here. And, it's, I'm busy. I can't. And then COVID hit and threw a wrench in all of our plans. But yeah, he just came to Tinley, and very much like Josh, he gave himself 4 hours to see the show. He came in Saturday afternoon, and he was leaving Sunday morning. And so it was just a whirlwind of, like, if you can imagine never coming to Tinley, the biggest show of the year, and then coming in and trying to absorb it for the very first time and do that all in just 4 hours. It was pretty bonkers for him, but I mean, his eyes were just gigantic. Like,
did he even get out of the main entrance? Did he get out of the main entrance in 4 hours?
He didn't see the whole show. He didn't make the whole floor for sure. I took him around, introduced him to a handful of folks, and he was just he's another guy. He's kind of like Kevin. Like, you can literally feel the energy popping off of his skin. Like, he was just so excited and amped up to be there. And then I think he was comprehending, like, oh, this is why you said I need to come in on Thursday and stay till Sunday night.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of shit to do here. There's a lot of people to see. And certainly just from the animal standpoint, there's a lot of animals to see and a lot of new products to see. And you've never met anybody at the show, so everybody you meet is going to be for the first time. So that's going to take longer. And so I know his 4 hours were intense and he loved it. But yeah, he's going to have to come back and immerse himself for the whole weekend. But yes, another guy that I started with when he was just working like out of his home and, doing he was just starting to do his bio substrates and stuff. And now he's got his own little empire building. And yeah, I mean, he's growing faster than he could just barely keep his fingertips on it at this point. He's growing so fast. Again, awesome to see. I love to see people working hard and seeing success.
And doing great things for the hobby. That's a bonus.
So what for somebody coming into the hobby new, what would be one thing you would tell them? What would be one piece of advice that you would give them that would help them?
Well, number one is the money part. We're talking about BioDude being successful and Josh Frogs being successful and Triple L growing to 10 times what they were. If the quickest way to make $1 million in reptiles, the quickest way to make $1 million is start with $2 million and work your way down. That's what your
Gary says every week. He says,
does he?
Yeah, he says it all the time.
Everyone that's ever tried and come in, the big millionaires that come into the ball python world to make money, they're gone. It's the people that work hard.
It's hard. It's hard work, and there's some serendipity to it. There's some luck to it. You can't just be a great breeder of your species. You also have to be a great networker, and you also have to be a great marketing person. Like, you have to present yourself well. You're competing with everybody else, and you always have to keep that in mind. You're going to be competing with everybody else that's busting their ass to be successful. So don't come into the industry on the basis of money. Like, I'm going to be a millionaire. I'm going to make $1 million or even $100,000. That's very challenging. You're going to come in and have passion for your animals and be willing to put in the work with the animals. If you're animal focused, then that's going to give you some potential to succeed. But you have to have the passion. The passion has to be the thing driving you, not the bank account or the money part. That's a recipe for failure. You've got to be into the animals. Yes. And just because you heard that some chameleon breeder is doing fantastic and making good money, if chameleons aren't your thing, then don't do chameleons. You have to work with an animal you like. You can't become the world's best frog breeder if you're not a frog guy or a frog girl. Like, if you really dig corn snakes, then do corn snakes. If you really dig esoteric, weird, rarely represented gecko species, then do that. Now, if you really dig, African house snakes, okay, that's cool. You could breed house snakes. You're still not going to make $1 million no matter what you do. But you have to work with something you're into.
Yeah.
You can't. It's not a commodity like you can, buy watermelon in bulk and then sell watermelon individually, and you don't give a shit whether you like watermelon or not. That's not how it works. When you're doing the animal stuff, the challenges, the setbacks, they're all going to be there. And if you don't have the passion for working with that species or that product, then it's going to be much more difficult to be successful. So you've got to be driven by the passion of it. That's I think the number one thing. It can't be the money part.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's just hard to get people to understand that.
And then when you're like me, when the leopard gecko market goes up and down like a roller coaster, I'm always there.
Uh-huh.
So when it's high, I'm good. I'm still there. But when it's low, I'm like, yeah, I still breed geckos.
Yeah, and that's something I hit on that all the time. I think some of the most valuable traits that you can have are consistency and reliability and predictability. Yes, if you see that leopard geckos, and I'm not in the leopard gecko market, so I don't know what the prices are now. But when we were producing 6,000 or 7,000 leopard geckos a year in the 90s and early 2000s. And at one point, they were $20 each for leopard geckos. And then 3 or 4 years later, that same animal, I was having a hard time getting $3 for it. And so you have to be able to be consistent. And that's why people fail within 2 or 3 years. They get in, they think this is the hot thing. I don't really care about the species, but this is what's hot, this is what's selling. And then 3 years later, that's not the hot thing anymore. And you're working with it, and all of a sudden it's not bringing the same dollar. That's going to be a challenge. So if you can be consistent with your goals and consistent with your work and production over time, then you have a much higher chance of being successful. That's why I said try and make it to 5 years first. Make that a goal. I don't give a shit what you do in 2 years. Anybody can keep Savannah monitors for 2 years. Try and keep them for 5 years. Raise some babies, get to be adults, healthy animals, strong animals, and then work on producing those animals. Get to 5 years. And then after that, set your goal for 10 years and see if you can do 10 years. If you can do that, you have a much higher chance of success. Nothing's going to happen in 2 years from now. It's just that's not how livestock works. It takes time and patience, and it takes consistency and reliability. You've got to be consistent with it.
Yeah, and I always tell people when they're saying, "Oh, geckos are hot," I'm going to get into it now. I'm like, by the time you're producing, it's not going to be this hot.
It's gonna be
It's
something
just
different.
not.
Yeah.
It's going to
Yep.
be something different. But that's why I just keep doing my gecko thing, and I got my other little projects. We're good. See, and people think I'm crazy producing 5,000 geckos. Did you hear what Robyn was producing? 5 to 7,000.
Yeah.
But it was a wholesale market. When you produce this level, it's more about wholesaling.
Yeah.
It's not about individual sales.
No. So, taking a step back, what got you into the hobby? What made you decide you wanted to step into this whole thing?
Pure chance and dumb luck. So, yeah, I grew up in Hawaii. Actually, is where I grew up. I went to school. And so we didn't have any reptiles. We didn't have any snakes. There was geckos, but not like leopard geckos. Nothing interesting. Just like little house geckos and stuff. And so I had never seen a live snake. I had never touched a snake. And then when I went to school at the University of Colorado, I moved to Boulder to go to school. And that's when I met my partner, Chad. And he was on the football team. He was known as like the snake guy because he had a bunch of snakes. And I thought, well, that's really interesting. And so we ended up meeting in town, and I got to start seeing some of his animals. And I thought, well, wow, these are really cool. This is really fascinating and really interesting animals. And then he ended up getting drafted by the Pittsburgh Steelers after college. And he said, hey, there's this thing now that people do where they breed reptiles for a living. And I want to do that, but I'm going to go play football. So do you want to do that for me? And do you want to, my collection at the time was maybe 120 animals. So do you want to take the collection and we'll start doing this breeding thing for a business? And I said, sure, why not? Sounds interesting. And I was working at Subway and I was delivering pizza. I was working at the music store, like all just nonsense teenager, early 20s jobs. And so this was much more interesting. I had no idea it was going to be a career at the time. But yeah, that's how I got started. It was pure dumb luck and just being fascinated by the animals. But I didn't know jack about husbandry. I didn't know temperatures. I'd never fed a rodent off before. Like I had a crash course, and we had geckos. We had leopard geckos. We had some giant, Burmese pythons that tagged me a few different times and scared me to death. We had different boas. At the time, ball pythons were just kind of a regular, normal python. There weren't any morphs or anything at that time that we could work with. And so, yeah, I started just by happenstance is the way I got going, and started the business. And then over the years, it just grew and grew and grew. And then I started to identify what species I really liked and which ones I didn't care for. That was the other thing, back in those days, a lot of folks would be dumb like me, and you try and do everything. Like you try and do all kinds of different. I'm going to do chameleons. I'm going to do geckos. I'm going to do tropical geckos. I'm going to do desert geckos. I'm going to do corn snakes, milk snakes, king snakes, rat snakes. I'm going to do boas. I'm going to do pythons. I'm going to do giant pythons. I'm going to do maunder. Yeah, you tried to do everything, and you ended up doing everything really poorly. And then you learned from wisdom, which was actually by Tracy Barker told me this. She said, you can do a lot of things mediocrely, or you can concentrate on a few species and be excellent at it.
That sounds like Tracy.
Yeah, I said, that's what I want to do. I want to be excellent at a few different things.
Yeah.
And so we started to tighten up our focus. We stopped doing monster snakes, big retics and berms and African rocks. Started, ball pythons were just getting hot at that time, so we focused on that. In hindsight, we sold off some really amazing boa constrictors, which still to this day bum me out. We had some really great Dumerals boas, which I never see anymore. I love those guys.
Yeah, Dooms aren't anywhere anymore.
Yeah, we had really amazing Argentine boas, which I still love to this day. We had some St. Lucian Island boas, which were super rare at the time, and are exceedingly rare now. But we bred those a couple times, and those were really neat little species. Over the years, I've actually determined I'm more of a lizard guy. I've always enjoyed working with the monitor lizards, the Ackies, black throat monitors. That does put over to Uromastics as well. We worked and bred with the ornate Uromastics. I like the personality of a lizard more than a snake. As far as keeping, interacting, breeding is fun. But I fell in love with Asian rat snakes, cockeye mandarins, rhino rats. We were pioneers in all those species. And then we had, of course, the most elusive snake of all breeding wise, Boland's pythons, which we tried for 15 years to reproduce and never could crack the code. But just an awesome species. I freaking love those animals. I still miss working with all that stuff today. I don't do any animals at all now.
You used to have one of the largest collections in America, didn't you? I mean, it was up there. And maybe one of the most known.
Yeah, probably one of the most known. Because we marketed a lot, we ran a lot of ads and stuff, but it's all relative. It's all relative. I mean, we would have at our peak we had maybe 10,000 animals. And at the end of our days we had 2,500 maybe, which seems like a lot, right? And then after that, I learned that Gourmet Rodent was producing 300,000 corn snakes a year, and I thought, okay, that's a lot. I'm not a lot.
I think Gourmet just produces massive everything. It's like if you want to compare it to Gourmet, what do they produce?
Don't they produce like 30,000 geckos a year too, or something like that? It's like crazy.
I think the last I heard it was 45,000 leopards. The last I heard,
something like that.
But I mean, Markland Bell's up there too.
Tremendous amount. Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're producing hundreds of thousands of animals a year, 100%, which is amazing. The growth of that side of the world. Like at one point, we had 19 staff for Pro Exotics, and that was just too many. It drove me nuts. I'm not a fan of a giant staff. Like because then your job is becoming managing people, not working with animals.
You got a point.
And so that wasn't that fun. And so to think about Josh Frogs that has 130 staff, that's my literal nightmare. I couldn't imagine having to wrangle that, like the logistics. And I mean, just when I remember talking to Bill Brandt from Gourmet Rodent when he owned Gourmet Rodent at the time, early 2010s probably. And he had at the time 80 staff, I think. And he said he hired and fired 2 to 3 people a week. That was it. Like it was just every week he's going to fire 3 people. He's going to hire 3 people because that size staff, there's always going to be some turnover. And I mean, again, I just thought, oh, that sounds awful. I hate firing people. I don't like hiring people that much either, but to fire people, shoot. I mean, and I had to fire people for a couple decades. And then, my partner Chad, he retired from football. And he came back and was working full time at the facility. And one of the first days I told him, I was like, look, I'm done firing people. I'm not doing that anymore. You're doing that now. Anybody needs to be fired, they can talk to you. I'm done firing people. It hurts my heart too much. It's too emotional. It's too draining. You could start firing people when we need to from now on. I'm done with it. I gave it up because it's almost every time, somebody's going to cry when they get fired. And then if they're crying, that's going to make me tear up and cry.
He's like, I don't want to fire you. I just don't want to fire you.
I've got to, but I don't want to. Yeah.
It's like they start begging, give me a second chance.
You're not working very well. You don't do anything, but don't fire me.
Yeah. Well, or stealing stuff or, stealing animals or stealing feeders or I remember in the 90s when my staff, I had 4 or 5 people, and they used to, we were in Colorado. They used to call me up on like a Tuesday and be like, yeah, I decided to go snowboarding today. Sorry. It's like, oh,
Well, that don't work.
yeah, you're not coming in because you're going snowboarding. Oh, okay. And so, yeah, you deal with that kind of stuff. You're like, oh, okay, now I got to let you go. And yeah, then they start crying. Then you start crying.
The animals don't need to eat and be clean. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, hiring and firing, man, that is not my thing. I don't care for it at all.
Yeah,
but it's
I
part
often
of the business,
wonder.
I guess.
I often thought about that. It's like if you're a person at a big enough place, you had people working for you. I wonder how tempting it is for them people to try to be like, they'll never miss a snake, stick it in their pocket.
Oh,
You'll
that's
never
super
miss
common.
it.
Super common.
I believe it is.
My problem would be they don't take care of the animals like I would, or they don't. If they're doing the breeding, they don't want to do what I have the vision. Because I mean, like when you get to that level, are you the one really breeding it anymore, or are you hiring people to breed it for you?
Right, you're managing it. Yes.
Yeah. So
But,
I mean, that's my problem.
My wife, Gary, gave me the perspective on that because I said, why can't they, you got to work late, or you got to, I got to check in with you after hours or whatever. And, why can't they just do this for me or do this it's for the animals. It's for the, and she said, you big fucking dummy. They're not you. They don't own the place. They're just clocking in. This is just a gig. You can't expect them to be willing to sacrifice the same way you are. Come in on Sundays and come in on Saturdays and Sundays, or, come back from a show and work until 4 a.m. to get stuff set back up. Like, that's what you do because it's your collection. You can't expect somebody you're paying, $15 an hour to, or back in the day, $8 an hour to have the same commitment that you do. And it's unreasonable for you to expect otherwise. So once I kind of took that to heart and I said, okay, yeah, you're right. I get that. Right. Okay. I wish I could clone myself and have a bunch of clones working.
Yes.
That would be great.
Yeah,
but that's again,
showing
not
up
the
to work
reality.
sick.
So, yes. Right. Yeah. Hey, it's got to be done. You've got to be there and make it happen. So, you've got to adjust your perspective and expectation on these kind of things.
You got to point.
And that's
why
fine.
I never hired employees.
It's a life lesson.
I just could never do employees. I'm like, if I get to the point where I have to have employees outside my family and my kids, I'm too big. I'm done. I'll scale back down.
Hey, there's a strategy to that, to say I don't want to get any bigger than what I can accomplish on my own. There's nothing wrong with that at all. Because once you start adding staff, once you start having payroll, you're adding a whole bunch of layers of headaches now. And it might take away some of the fun and enjoyment for you.
Yeah. I like having my hands on.
Yeah, absolutely.
You got any other questions there, Gary? Or
I'm good so far. I love talking to the old school. It's like when I get someone old school on, I'm like, they understand me.
They do. That's the difference. That's it. Yeah.
Like he knows about the Chad and how he started and Mark and Kim Bell. I talk to some of my friends now at the shows now because they're all new. They're all newer breeders. I'm like, well, where did Bell Albino come from? Well, Mark and Kim Bell. Who's that? Really? I look at him like, oh, what? So I'll get it. I'll text Mark. I'm like, this person don't know who you are, and I'll take a picture of him. I'm not joking.
Now you do the TRR, and you had called me on the phone about, I would say 10 years ago or so, and you wanted to do a whole aquatic side of that. Did you ever think about doing that with have you thought, are you going to still do that?
Oh, yeah. We had big plans. We were going to do the aquatics report. We were going to do the cigar report. We were going to do the muscle car report. The weed report. Everything was going to be a report. The reality is that the scaling of that was very expensive. And the way we had originally started the business, we had a website, and then you have your social media pages, and you're going to pay the bills by selling the banner ads on the website. That was the strategy to make it work. And Kingsnake, again, back in the day, Kingsnake did that really, really well. They sold the shit out of banner ads. I mean, Pro Exotics, we spent close to $20,000 a year on banner ads at kingsnake.com. And so I thought, we'll take that same model and put it to the report, and this could be successful. Well, again, just the timing of it, and Facebook came along, and Facebook started killing off all the forums, the reptile forums, and it killed all the ad revenue. And so the reality was we couldn't generate any revenue for the reptile report. So we lost for the first 8 years or so, we lost $40,000 a year on the reptile report, just running, just the overhead.
Wow.
And so it costs a lot of money to, because we had staff, and we had technology costs, we had site build costs. I think it was such a money pit at the time that automatically killed the idea of trying to expand it to a bunch of other industries, so we could lose $40,000 on each of those other industries as well. I always thought it was an important site to have, and it served an important function because it reaches such a wide audience, and it allows us to help small breeders and small companies reach a wider audience than they can on their own. And so I thought the site was important, and so I was willing to take that loss every year to make that happen. But yeah, it wasn't monetarily scalable. Now, in the last year and a half, I made some changes. After my split with my partner Chad, I took the Reptile Report myself, and I had to kill the .com website. We just killed it because that was the main labor-intensive part of the business. That was where the money was really being sunk into. And so now it's literally just a Facebook page and just an Instagram page, and that's it. And I can do it with a small staff, and they're very efficient and terrific at their jobs. And we can still have the same type of effect and reach that we did before. I mean, the reach still grows to this day, but we don't lose money anymore. And so that's a positive thing. But I mean, we've literally put over $300,000 into the Reptile Report at a loss to get it to 2019.
That's insane.
It was a big money pit, but I thought it was worthwhile, and it was it's a good marketing tool for Ship Your Reptiles at the time. So I was cool with that. You write it off as a marketing expense, and that's fine.
My favorite thing is seeing you put my stuff up there, one of your workers would put my stuff up there. I guarantee other breeders like it too. It's like, oh, well, look at that. I didn't ask that. That's sweet. And it's a good feeling. It's a good feeling when you see that. I look forward to the posts every day. That's
me.
I do. I look at it every day.
I appreciate that. The support means a lot to me. We, like I said, the goal was always to shine a light on all these great breeders doing great work and great animals. You always have your detractors and folks out there, and one of the most common accusations was, oh, you guys only post the folks that are paying you to post their things, and you're just money hungry and greedy. And behind the scenes, I knew that, well, shit, we're losing a shit ton of money on this, and nobody gives me a nickel for posting and sharing their stuff. But you can't. It turns out you can't fight with people on the internet. It's a no-win situation.
That's the truth.
I don't think I've ever paid you.
No, well, nobody has. Nobody has. And so that hurt my feelings that people thought that, whether it was Bob Clark's animal or BHB's or Triple L's or JD Constriction or whoever it was, that, oh, those people are paying to be on there. And I was like, well, no, that's actually couldn't be any further from the truth. We just look for great content, really interesting stuff, and put it up there. Now, if in my ideal world, we would have a lot more breeding content and business content than we do today. And that was my focus. Like, when we first started in 2012, 13, 14, I really, because I'm a reptile breeder at heart, and I wanted to see the breeding side of the world. I don't give a shit about a snake with a hat on. That's not appealing to me. I want to see the way people approach their breeding setups, their racks, or their strategies or philosophies about working with the animals. But it turns out nobody else wants to see that pretty much.
Breeders.
It's
We're
a
the only
pretty
ones.
core group of right. Well, but we're a small percentage of folks,
Yes, very much so.
Yeah.
Well, if that's what the page is, then that's fine. But like the Reptile Report now is like 900,000 likes or something. Only 100,000 of those maybe are what we would consider herper folks.
And
the
I
rest
will tell you,
are just folks that think that the animals are cool and
your
look
guys'
cool. And so they don't care about what. I mean, to them, a breeding rack is insulting, or it's weird, or it doesn't make sense, or they get angry about it. They don't understand the context of it. So now we have to have more pictures of snakes with hats and less breeding content. But it is what it is. You have to be able to read and react.
The site does open up rabbit holes, though. If they click it and they start researching what you guys post, it opens up rabbit holes. And they can go down and learn a lot more.
Sure.
And I wish people would do that. I mean, if they're just like, oh, this breeder here. I've actually been introduced to smaller breeders through TRR. I have, 100%.
Yeah.
I'm like, I never heard of that person.
Absolutely.
What's that?
And that's a real great, that's a really great benefit of that is that exact function. And if you read the comments, you can see that kind of effect as well. People making comments like, I never knew snake could be this beautiful, or I never knew frogs could be kind of pattern or whatever, whatever the species is. People are really digging it. So that's fantastic. I love to see that effect. And there's you end up seeing some grandma on there that got hooked on the page because her grandson liked the page. And now she comes on to look at geckos and chameleons and corn snakes, and she's thrilled with it. She really is, she's fascinated. She's not going to become a breeder. She's not going to buy a collection of animals, and that's totally fine. Just let her dig the animals, and then she can help be a proponent of what we do. She can be a supporter of our world. I'm down for that.
Oh yeah.
Do you guys still do the Reptile Report awards like you used to, or don't you do that no more?
No, we don't.
That was you guys doing it.
Challenging part.
It was
we
fun,
did a best
though.
of the year awards for a while.
Yeah, that's what it was. But it was
a blast.
Fun.
I fucking loved it.
That was a fun time nominating people.
Fun for you.
Yeah, the back end of it though. The back end of it.
People get so weird about it.
Because
people get so weird about it, and again, like we would try and keep it as fair as possible, and then you would just get an avalanche of people. The only reason people are winning is because you've chosen them or you like them or whatever. And I'm just like, they won the Reader's Choice Award. I didn't have anything to do with it.
Yes, that works.
It was completely organic. It's not my fault that they won. I don't have nothing to do with it. But people are weird. It became too negative. Why are these people nominated? Why aren't those people nominated? The Kevin at Nerd, I hate that guy. He's the worst. Why isn't Kevin the winner? He's the best. You couldn't win no matter what way you approached it. It was just kind of hopeless. But I enjoyed it while we did it. We sent out some really great trophies to folks, which I still see today at shows and in pictures and stuff. So that's awesome. But the other thing was, I had my staffer, Judy, do the awards after I did them the first year or two. And it's a good 200 hours of labor to do it. it was a huge amount of time, and even she was just like, you know what, I'm exhausted doing this. Yeah, it was a lot of work. It was hundreds and hundreds of hours of managing it, doing nominations, doing voting, doing the promotion, putting it up at the website. It was a ton of work. So yeah, after a while, it was just like we just can't do it anymore. It's too friggin' difficult.
Well, that's crazy. That's a lot of work.
It was.
See,
it was great while it. Yeah, it was great while it lasted.
See, people don't understand how much work actually goes into something just as simple as what that would sound to me. You know.
Yeah. It's that's the behind the scenes part for sure.
A 100% free site, and people still complained. It just,
crazy. So now with your new
people
products,
weird,
with your new products
people
you have that
weird.
are coming out, you're only going to be able to buy them off of websites and stuff, right? All right. Is there anything?
What's that?
Is there any of the anything that you're really excited about with the new products? I mean, you were talking about your scrapers. Is there anything that's because you seemed real excited when you were showing them off on
the scrapers and the stainless steel are really simple, but I am very excited about them. I think they're awesome. We also have a new cage line that's coming out. I should have it ready first of the year. I'm working on the packaging side right now. But we have an interesting cage that it's a display cage, not a breeder cage. It's more of a display type cage, and it breaks down flat, so it ships flat. But that's been a pulling teeth to try and get that manufactured during COVID time. But it's coming along. And then, like I said, the long-term goal was lighting, heating, and other tools. And I've got a list of 15 other different products I'd like to get after. It's just a matter of time and capital and finding enough folks on the team that we can all.
Oh, did we lose him? We might have lost him.
I hope not, but it looks like we might have there for a minute.
We might have lost him. But we'll talk till he gets back. Redline, I really like his products.
Oh yeah. I was looking.
We'll see if he gets back.
I was looking at some of them scrapers he's got and stuff like that. It's great stuff.
I might actually have to talk to him about distributing some of his stuff. And Moon's here, Wally's here, Emily's here, everyone's here. I got Miles here.
Miles, yep.
Leo, all these people Leo's here. We're rocking and rolling. Robyn is old school, and it's just nice talking to someone that knows the same people I did.
Oh yeah.
And, I mean, is that him talking?
I'll tell you in a second. That might be him.
Yep, he lost it. Well, we can always get him on another time too. It doesn't matter if he can't get back on.
I'll let him know that. He said it just went dead. He don't know what happened, so we'll find out here.
Yeah, if he can't get back on, we'll get him back on another week too. Robyn's just really good people. They give you guys the story I was telling at the beginning for the people that's here. He was talking about Chad in 2009. There was a DVD by Dave Kaufman, and when I went to get Chad's autograph on it, someone asked for my autograph because I was a big YouTuber back then. That one right there, and Chad signed mine for me, and I signed the cut like this guy's like deli cup. It was kind of funny, but Robyn's been involved in so much stuff from Ship Your Reptiles to Pro Exotics to Redline Science, which is a really
the temp gun thing.
The temp gun.
He came out with them temp guns right away.
Yep, THG. The heat tape. It's the only stuff made in America. I mean, people should know who Robyn is.
That's what he's seeing.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh no. Can he go back, like log off of it, and then log back in?
He's saying he keeps trying to log back in, but it won't let him. but I let him know that we can get him on again, and he says
Yeah.
that he had a great time.
Yeah, that might be the best bet. But I mean, if he gets back in, we'll let him back in. I love Robyn. The biggest thing I love about Robyn's stuff is
He said there's no way. He said that's just not working.
no
And
worries.
He sends his deepest apologies, everybody.
We love Robyn anyway. We love Robyn. But TRR was huge when the Reptile report came out, and I'm sure there's breeders listening to this that it was something special to have TRR pick up one of your pictures or something you've done and put it up on TRR.
He wants to come on again when he gets his cage line up and running.
Done. Whatever day it is, it's done. It's a done deal. He's got open invitation. I've been friends with Robyn for a while on Facebook, and I've known him here and there throughout the years. Just good to hear some stories. Like, I did not know Pro Exotics produced that many leopard geckos.
Oh yeah, that was crazy back in the day. I remember that. He would like people to go check out Redline Signs Facebook and Instagram page,
and they're all in the descriptions on the YouTube channel. On the YouTube video, I have all his Facebooks and I have his websites up. So you can get to the Reptile Report, THG Heat. You can get the Redline Science, redlinescience.com, THGheat.com. It's all in the description in the YouTube, so you can just go there and click it. Make sure you subscribe to his channels, like his channels and his Facebook pages and stuff. Robyn does a lot of good for this hobby, a lot of stuff behind the scenes that not a lot of people see.
Yeah, it was. He did. He's been around for a long time. He did a lot. His company, Pro Exotics, introduced a lot of first ball pythons too. That were.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I remember the Bolins thing that they were trying to breed the Bolins, and I was like, pythons, "That's insane." And some of the stuff he said he had, that I didn't even know he had. I was like, "What?" I mean, it's just insane to know, the stuff that he's done and how he got in the hobby, like you said, backed into it with, dumb luck. And I think the hobby got lucky getting someone like Robyn and Chad and Robyn and what he's doing today. I will tell you this though. When you told me that Robyn was game to come, I was like, let's just do it. I was excited.
He said next time he'll be directly connected into the internet. See, he's out in the middle of the desert right now at a parking lot.
I appreciate Robyn no matter what. I'm not mad at him even a little. The dude's my hero. Guys, there's certain people like the Robyn and even Chad and Mark and Kimbell and Applegate and Tremper and all these people that I'm lucky enough I grew up in the hobby with, that I wish the new people, like Robyn said, the new people should know them, and then us older people should know the newer people.
Yep.
And he gave me some thoughts in my head of what we could do to, combine that gap. Because I guarantee Applegate and Tremper and like I said, Kevin from Nerd, maybe not Kevin from Nerd because he does have a YouTube. But there some of these old school, the Loves. I guarantee the Loves could be in a show.
And Bill Love would be great.
They could be in a show, and 90% of today's people would not know it was them.
You know what? We'll have to get them on.
I could talk to them, or we could send them a message. There's some old school people like Tremper said that he's retired, but he talks to me. Because he knows I'm still writing that website. I thought that website I was doing Gecko History was going to be really quick.
Well, Applegate's retired too, right?
Applegate's retired. Loves aren't really retired. Mark and Kimbell's far from retired, but I don't know if we can get him on. I mean, I can ask Mark. But I know I can probably get Josh on. Like everyone we talk to, I mean, I have a connection to. I mean, I do want to get Kevin on. I do. I thought about it. But Kevin and I could have some stories for people that Kevin and I like. We went at it a few times, but Kevin and I were cool. I think that bridging that gap would be cool. And my idea, and I want people to comment below. Okay, what is happening to the leopard gecko history page? I'm still writing it, but when I review it, I've been talking to people like John Scarborough, Tremper, and a few other of the originators of lines, and I want it to be perfect. I don't want it to be my bias in there, and some of my writings were biased, and I don't want that. I don't want to have my I don't know how to say it, my biasness in it. And when I send out something and say, hey, what do you think about this? You originated this line. They're like, well, that's not how I wanted it. That's not how I word it. And I'm changing it. I would say about 60 to 70% of it's written. But Tremper told me when I started taking on the job to do this, he says, you're writing a book. And I'm like, no, I'm going to do a webpage. He goes, no, you're writing a book. And I didn't click here with me when he told me that. Now I'm getting it.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah. Because I was planning on doing it once I did this. I was like, I can just collect information on ball pythons, and I was going to do a ball python one. It ain't happening.
There's a lot.
It ain't happening. I'm not even attempting it.
Hello, Nanette.
Yeah, Nanette, you are awesome. I will see you Sunday. Yeah, Sunday. I got some good news. A friend of mine's going to be there. I'm so happy. Yeah, geckohistory.com is still on the making. I should just publish what I have and then add to it. Because about 60, maybe 70% has got the final stamp of approval from the originators of them lines, except for like Rainwater, because Tim is no longer around, stuff like that. But I've done some digging. I got some people that's no longer in the hobby to talk to me about it. I went through chains of people to get to some people. And,
that's cool though. You're very thorough then.
Yeah, some people said they don't want to help. I mean, they plain out and told me that when they found out what I was doing, they said they didn't want nothing to do with it. So the history of it's not going to be there 100% other than what I know and my friends know about it. And then some people are open books. They're just like, they spill the beans. Like Steve Sykes says I can use any picture on his website I want, ever, anytime I want.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, he goes, and I'll give him credit, and then John Scarborough let me use anything I need. I'll give him credit and links to their website and stuff. But gecko history is not going to stop with leopard geckos. I want to do it for other geckos too.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Now let's see. On YouTube, the thing is just press record. So for the work you've done on the leopard gecko page, just hit public. I agree with him 100%. And I think I'm going to do that. Because I got like the basics done, like Tremper albino. Well, because Ron's helped me with that. Mark and Kim Bell. Well, more so Kim helped me with the Bell albino. The Rainwater. I did the best I can. White and yellow. I got the total history of white and yellow. Enigma. Enigma's a touchy subject. Yeah, Enigma's a touchy subject.
First off, when you bring it up, it infuriates some people.
Yeah, so, but I don't want it to be a negative thing. Even with Lemon Frost, I want it to be the true history of the item, the gecko.
Even putting the things out that are bad like that does help people.
Yeah. I want to like the Lemon Frost I've written, and I've talked to the people that send in the reports. I have the reports to put up on the website, everything. I don't want them. Just to say, well, Gary doesn't like it. It's a piece of garbage. I want to put out the facts to it, so someone can sit there and go, "Here it is." To give you a good example, Miles put up something about the ghost, and it's probably the most information on that line that's on the internet. And that's what I want. I want something that's not Gary bias and saying, oh, Bell Albino is better than Tremper Albino because of this. I just want the facts there. And then I'm going back and forth of the combos. Do I put who first did the combos if I don't know who did them all? Because who really knows who did? I mean, Raptor's a tough one. This is a really tough one. The Raptor is supposed to have patternless stripe in it, which is a line bred trait. Okay, 2 stripes stacked on top of each other makes the patternless stripe. Do we consider just an Eclipse Tremper a Raptor? Do we consider an animal that has patternless stripe in it that looks like a Raptor but has snake eyes? You get what I'm saying? It's not true to the algorithm. Now, when I talk to the originator of it, he's just kind of like, well, yes, I got them all. When I started reading, I got them all. I just called this one the Raptor. And so I got to word that a certain way.
It's tough to figure out how to figure it all in there.
And that's been my gimmick lately. Like the white and yellow is the big one. I love white and yellow. I love the history of white and yellow, how it came about. I have a section on white and yellow syndrome. What we found out back in 2013, it was a bunch of us were breeding it and finding out the twisters and what was going on there. John Scarborough talking about you can breed the syndrome out of white and yellow, and it's proven there is white and yellow lines that do not have any issues. Then the white and yellow line that has issues. Like, I'm hoping my white and yellow that I just acquired, I'm hoping and praying it tests out perfect. If it tests out no albinos, I'll be so happy.
I like the white and yellow I got. That one white and yellow I got that popped out this year is looking really good.
Well, my goal is if my white and yellow that I acquired it is supposed to be het nothing, and the person I got it from told me that they didn't do the extensive testing on it, so I'm going to do extensive testing on it. And if it proves out not to be het anything, I want to take my first thing I want to take it into is my blood stuff, and see how that reacts, because this white and yellow is a beautiful. It's like what a white and yellow should be, and he's a monster eater. He's friendly as can be. He's just it's like the perfect leopard gecko. So I'm happy about him, and I'm hoping that he tests out perfect for me. And
that'll be great.
And then I want to start. I'll put white and yellow in my other stuff. The Albie Snow. Oh, here, see. Thanks, Gary. The Albie Snow note on Facebook. Wish they hadn't removed the ability to create new notes from Facebook. I know. Tell me about it. If people don't know, Impeccable Gecko has a note up, like I said, for the Albie Snow. That's more information on the Albie Snow than anywhere else on the market. Anywhere. There's no one that has
check
it.
That out.
Not many people work with Albie Snow. Not many people do. It's just, and that's what I'm trying to do with the gecko history is I'm trying to make it not biased, and I'm a very biased person, and I try not to be, but I am very biased. Like I don't like lemon frost. I just don't like it. I won't breed it. I don't care what anyone says. I don't want it. Enigma, same way. I don't want it. Don't care.
Yep.
I don't care. NDBE. I bought into it. I spent a lot of money on NDBE. Found out there's issues. I don't want to breed it. Do you know what people tell me? Do you know how much money it'd be worth? Don't care. I don't care.
It has issues.
Don't. I mean, I can't sell a lemon frost for $10. I don't want to.
No.
I watched a good friend, John Scarborough and Dan Hamilton, and even Steve Sykes, the collection go whoop because of it, So
Yeah.
So what? So since Robyn's off, what have you had anything exciting happen this week other than us being sick?
No, not other than being sick. That was it. Let me think. Just my stuff. My stuff is growing quick.
Dude,
a lot of my stuff
huge.
Yep, I was shocked already when I weighed some of them out. I'm like, what the heck?
Are you feeding them?
Yeah. So, I'm just making out plants like I told you, running stuff by you and getting your opinions on with the breed stuff too next year, and we're pretty much on the same page with some of that stuff. So it's going to be really good stuff.
Dude, you're going to have a big year. You got crested geckos. You have the isopods. Wally's hooked you up with some isopods, and you got isopods from
Emily, too. Emily, yes.
Your isopods are going to be amazing.
They're growing. I mean, they're breeding like crazy. Unbelievable.
Do you guys see that? I have it up. It's done. Almost makes he wants to get back into Leo's. Done. Miles did it.
Was it the picture of the one I showed you?
The Miles posted a white and yellow, and it was.
Oh, I must have missed
one of the hottest geckos I've ever seen. So to find now without the direct link to Facebook Nerf note. Yeah, I know. Miles been posting some hot stuff. Miles does something that I never thought about doing. He posts a gecko on Monday through Friday, and I think he does on the weekends too. And some of these geckos, I'm just like, well, what's that? I want that. It's like, yeah, almost.
It was Miles Gecko with the one with the marker, right?
Yes,
the highlighter.
He took the highlight. No, he took the marker and he was like coloring it in. Yeah. He said he was coloring that day. I am not joking, guys. I have a kid that goes to the shows, and he does his own business, but his dad's involved with them, and they sell dry goods now and stuff, and they do leopard geckos. And he goes, I don't produce as nice geckos as you. And I'm like, dude, you do. He's bought some Skittles off of Heidi, and I have a male Skittles from him. And he traded to me. I forget what we traded. But I took a male Skittles. The thing's insane. I got to get pictures of it. It's insane. I bought it. It was like a littler, and now it's an adult. And I'm like, what is this? So I don't even know what to do with it.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool, though. That really is. I noticed one thing with the bloods. They're getting more and more brighter orange and reds. The deeper colors as they get older.
What the bloods do when people buy them, when they're babies, when you hatch them out, you're going to get some hot ones. It's like, whoa. But most of them hatch out like normal tangerines do. And then they get to that 10, 15 gram mark and they start getting hot. And they look amazing. When they hit 25 grams, they go through a dirty stage, and then they get into the emerine stage. And then they turn into something awesome at around 40, 45 grams. So they change. They do this. So I never sell if they're under 15 grams. I sell them for $200, and I tell people they're lottery bloods. I don't know what they're gonna look like. I do it all the time. I'm like, I don't know what they're gonna look like. But blood was something I stumbled on, and I started becoming known for because I started breeding, and they started looking awesome. M7 is an average looking blood. It's average. And it just took off. I want to get the carrot tail that freaking Miles has in his bell. I need to work on bell like bad. And I just need to spend some money with Miles and give him a couple $1,000 and say, what can I get?
It's the way to do it.
I mean, that's what and then what you gonna have? What else you gonna have? You got tarantulas breeding.
I should by this year have them going. Yeah,
you got tarantulas. So you'll have leopard geckos, crested geckos. When you get your male gargi, you'll have that. You're gonna have an amazing year next year, this coming season.
I hope so.
What are you gonna do with all these animals?
Well, I got you. No, I'm just kidding you. No.
I'll buy. Yeah, dude, I'll buy because the leopard geckos, I know where they're from. So if there's a hot one, I can buy a female if I need it. You know, I'm like, oh yeah.
Well, it would probably be a trade, not really a. You know what I'm saying?
Because I will tell people, I give something here.
No, I do not.
I paired up my first geckos for 2022 season today.
Did you really?
Yeah, I just posted in a chat that I'm in with some people, and I'm like, I'm paired up, and they're like, no, and I'm like, I know, I didn't want to, and if it wasn't for what they are, I wouldn't have paired them up. But they're patty stuff; they're pure patties.
Oh, that's cool.
So, and everyone, please don't get mad. I haven't released pure patties because it's taken this long to prove it out. It's taken me 5 years to make sure that this line is clean.
Yeah, no, I understand that. It's been forever because people started, like you said back in the beginning, they started just throwing everything together to try to get it.
I had 2 kids.
Yeah, I mean, Marsha's gonna get. I think Marsha wants a pair or a trio, and I'm probably just gonna send it to her because she was the inspiration to do it. And I got a few other friends and possibly you if you want them. And I don't even know if I'm going to sell them this year. I honestly don't know. I probably just go to friends. I do have some pure macularis stuff, and I got some fasciolata stuff. Fascios are something that I want to start putting into some things. I do got to get some more subspecies. I got to get like Turkmenicus and stuff like that too. But I don't know.
I'm waiting for ovulations to start here soon. Just to start.
I was packing animals. I was packing them animals, man, and I'm like, oh, let's look at the patty stuff. I pulled them out, the patty stuff, and I'm like, oh, ovulation, up, ovulation, up, ovulation. Great.
Oh yeah, it's great.
And now that I got my macularis stuff going, and that I'll be able to reverse engineer more stuff. Hopefully my next one to be pure eclipse. Even though eclipses and everything, it would be nice to have a pure eclipse line. And it'd be nice to get a pure bloodline, just nothing, but I can't breed nothing out of blood. It sucks.
Yeah.
People don't understand once you breed blood to something, and you start breeding it and they got to prove it out, you're basically starting that line over to get that prettiness, and it's going to take 3 generations.
I suppose.
Cheerios not open.
I hope that, I can't wait to see what this does with some of the stuff I bred this year to the blood stuff. Like throwing that male blood to a few things.
The blood stuff, this enhances stuff. I haven't done it too many times, but Blood Raptor's pretty hot. The blood seems to stick with that eclipse because it's more of a burnt orange than a bright orange, and with eclipse it kind of pastels out stuff and mutes out the color, but blood seems to stick around with that eclipse. So I might work on that a little bit more because blood eclipse is kind of pretty cool.
A whole container of bloat meal.
I think she should fix you dinner.
Yeah. So, it'll be a fun year. Keep you posted on how things are going. It was fun. Yeah. It'll be fun.
So,
it's been real hectic. So,
tell me
for you anyway, because I could actually seeing.
Yeah, I'm shoot, dude. I don't even know what was up sometimes. I honestly don't. But we rock it out. But the reptileroom.org is going. I didn't want to bring up TRR because it's kind of hard to say TRR to someone else, but it's all good.
That has TRR, yeah. I got you that.
But it's all good.
If you got
I have
nothing else, no,
you got nothing else. All right, guys. Well, we're gonna go ahead and end this then.
Yep, and then I'll be talking to you over the weekend, I'm sure, and seeing how the show
Yeah.
goes for you. And
The Expo's gonna
hope
rock.
everybody who's going to the show has a good time.
Well, I heard that Leo's coming there to buy some blood.
That's possible.
Happy Halloween too. Happy Halloween.
Oh, happy Halloween, everybody! I heard him say that too. I kind of did. He was hitting around. He's like, "Yeah,
Well,
let's see."
Here's the deal. I have someone coming to buy 8 females from me. Not blood, but 8 females. Some are going to be blood. I don't have much left for the season. I don't. And I have another person, a bigger breeder of ball pythons and boas that want to buy high-end pair for their daughter. And,
Wow.
And I showed, they sent me, no joke, they sent me a picture of, I'm not even going to say the name. I don't want to put them down. They said, I want this. And it was blood hypo or blood tangerine. I said, I have bloods. I showed him mine. He goes, what the hell are those? That's all he said. I'm like, I have them. And he goes, all right. So I have to trick or treat. You could trick or treat at Janesville.
Yeah. Trick or treat as you go by a table. Here's my money, and I'll take the treat. Going right down.
I'll be at Rothschild. Rothschild. I don't know what I'm gonna. I don't mean to be mean. I love Dylan and Rothschild, but I might not have much left because I have Sewerfest at the 16th. Is it 16th Sewerfest? So then Rothschild's the last show of the year, and then I got a show in January, but I might not have much stuff left for these shows. I stopped breeding. I shouldn't have. I'll take the 4-hour drive. You should take the 4-hour drive. So
yeah.
See you. Miles is gonna be there. I'm so happy you don't understand. Miles is gonna be at the show. I'm so happy. So see you guys.
I gotta start getting to these shows. Yeah,
you do.
So
all right. I'm gonna end the live real quick, guys.
Yep.
We
Peace.
are outie.